The first time our eyes met, he didn't blink. The second time, he smiled, as if he already knew where I parked. Maya hated Friday crowds, but HarborMax and Cedar Ridge felt oddly calm that night. The air was a bit colder than the forecast, and the usual clatter of carts was replaced by a thin electrical hum from the fluorescent tubes. She moved fast. Paper towels, snacks, laundry pods. The kind of autopilot shopping that keeps your mind quiet. Outside, the parking lot was too still. A few cars dotted the asphalt like islands. The rest was open sea. Maya tugged her coat tight, popped the tailgate, and started loading. That's when she noticed him, 3 rows down, face lit by his phone. Still, too still. The stillness was akin to that of a statue. He didn't look away when their eyes met. No embarrassed half-smile, no polite pivot. He watched, like a camera that could think. "Paranoid," she muttered, slamming the last box into the trunk. The sound ricocheted through the lot. She clicked the fob, slid into the driver's seat, and locked the doors before sitting. Her heartbeat sounded crisp in the quiet cabin. She adjusted the mirror. He hadn't moved. Maya reversed, the backup camera catching the gray sedan angled toward her lane. She turned left for the exit. The sedan's headlights flared, then fell in behind her. Not fast. Not tailgating, just there. The first turn she took was the kind you make to calm yourself. The second turn was the kind you make because the first didn't work. The third was a hard right that took her past a closed bakery and a pawn shop glowing faint neon. The gray sedan flowed after her like a patient tide. Her hands trembled. She calculated routes, not home, never home, and saw the blue shield sign 2 blocks ahead. Cedar Ridge Police Substation. Relief pricked her eyes. She signaled early and pulled toward the curb lane. The sedan didn't waver. She accelerated past the substation at the last second. If he only wanted to spook her, he'd peel off when she faked a stop. He didn't. He matched her speed, 1 car back, always in mirror range. The dash clock bled minutes, 9, 12, 17. She called 911 with clumsy fingers. 911, what's your emergency? I'm being followed, Maya said. Gray sedan. Been on me since HarborMax. Location? She rattled off street names. The dispatcher's voice was soothing. Keep doors locked. Don't go home. We'll vector a unit. Lights on if you can safely pull into a busy lot. Busy didn't exist at 10:43 p.m. She opted for bright. The bluefin convenience lot was floodlit and close. She pulled in and parked facing the store. The sedan rolled in too but stopped across the street, engine idling. The sedan stopped just far enough away to make her doubt her own fear. Her phone buzzed. Ellie, are you home yet? Want me to warm the pasta? Maya kept her eyes on the sedan. He's still there, she whispered to the line. Red and blue sliced the night. A cruiser. 2 officers approached the sedan with practiced choreography. Maya watched their silhouettes and felt her pulse in her teeth. The conversation looked monotone. No shouting, no handcuffs. After a few minutes, the gray car turned away and drifted down the block without urgency, like a cloud changing streets. An officer knelt at her window. You did the right thing. We've had similar calls. About him? Can't say names, he said gently. Records show warnings. When he toes the line, it's difficult to make it stick. We'll patrol the area. They waited until her breathing matched normal human patterns, then offered an escort to the highway on-ramp. She declined, embarrassed by how small her voice sounded when she said, I'm okay. At home, Ellie held her, warm and annoyed at the world. Pasta steamed on the counter. The relief felt counterfeit. Every motion sensor light on the street made Maya glance at the window. Every late car sounded like a gray engine. She texted the officer the next afternoon. Was he cited? Warning issued, documented. Call if you see him again. Weeks later, she parked at HarborMax in daylight and told herself she was ridiculous. A mother wrangled twins by the cart corral. A man in a green ball cap loaded potting soil into a truck. The world was ordinary again. Inside the windscreen reflection, for just a second, she swore she saw someone standing in the next lane. Not moving, not shopping, watching her through the glass like it was an aquarium wall. When she turned, no one was there. It was ordinary again. Mostly. Until she realized the new ding in her rear bumper was shaped like the exact curve of a gray front plate bracket. Not smashed, pressed, as if someone had pulled up and rested there gently for a long, quiet minute. The first word he said wasn't hello. It was my name. Jada clocked in at 2:45 a.m., Ridgeway quiet as an unplugged fridge. She loved the skeleton hours at RiverPoint Wholesale. Aisles like canyons, the floor polished enough to keep star maps. The forklift's faraway beep marked time better than any clock. She hauled a pallet jack into frozen, frost feathering the glass doors, breath ribboning in the air. A figure stood at the end of the aisle, tall, posture slightly crooked like a question mark trying to become an exclamation. He faced the shelf but didn't look at it. He looked through it. "May I help you find anything?" Jada kept it breezy. Night weirdness was normal. Stragglers, couples arguing over bulk mayo, and a guy once reading shampoo ingredients like scripture. "I'm just looking," he murmured. "For what?" The question stayed in her throat. She rolled on, stocking, counting, and rehanging a stray bag of fries. He was there again at the end of the next aisle, closer now like the building was shrinking around them. She speed-walked to electronics, the TV wall painting 100 Jadas in cool color. She waited. Nothing. When she pushed back out, he stood at the mouth of the aisle with his back to her, head angled ever so slightly as if listening to a ceiling whisper. She turned toward the exit signs. An impulse, a map out, and that's when he said it. "Don't leave, Jada." She froze hard enough to ache. Hearing her name spoken by a stranger felt like a password being misused. "How do you know my—" He turned. Bland face, worn jacket. Eyes the kind you forget as soon as you look away, except you couldn't. "You're always here," he said. "Nights you take your break at 4:10, you bring oranges. Occasionally you sit by the loading door to feel the cold." Her throat went tight. Patterns feel cozy until someone else repeats them for you. She palmed her phone behind the pallet handle. "I'm calling security." "I wouldn't," he said softly. "It makes them take longer to get here. Footsteps. Blessed, ordinary footsteps." Luis, the night manager, appeared with a clipboard shield. "Everything good?" The man pivoted halfway toward Luis, then toward the exit. For a second he looked not like a person, but like a memory deciding whether to stay. Without hurry he walked out, the automatic doors sighing with relief as they fulfilled their intended purpose. "Are you okay?" Luis asked. "I think he knows our schedules," Jada said, hating the tremor in her voice. "Like mine, they filed a report." Luis pulled camera stills and forwarded them with timestamps to the Ridgeway PD contact, who always answered his emails before dawn. "Bounce him if he returns," he said. "Call first, never ask questions." She reshelved boxes. Everyday noises felt magnified. The crack of shrink wrap, carts squealing somewhere distant, and the crackle of the store radio when someone adjusted their jacket. When her shift ended, sunrise lacquered the parking lot gold. No sign of the man. Just her hatchback, her breath on the glass, and the soft slosh of orange halves in a container she suddenly couldn't stand to look at. The next night she varied everything. Parked 3 rows farther back. She chose to enter through the receiving door rather than the associate door. Took her break at 3:47 and ate crackers. Still, when she rounded aisle 17 with a box cutter, someone had placed a single orange, unpeeled, pristine, in the center of the concrete, dead even between the lines of the floor polish. No footprints. There was no camera angle that clearly captured who placed the orange. She moved out of Ridgeway 2 months later. Farther commute. More daylight. Friends said she was overreacting. She didn't mind overreacting if it meant sleeping. On her last night at RiverPoint, she found a folded paper inside her locker, where only she knew to hide spare gloves. It held 2 words in block letters that told her the man had indeed learnt her patterns, down to the place she reached without thinking. "See you." The note didn't scare Theo until he realized it was written in his own handwriting. Hartwell's MetroBox was the kind of warehouse that made you feel small and uninteresting, in the best way. Theo stopped in at 8:32 p.m. for 2 things, then 3, then 5. The doors whooshed open on bright lights, the rotisserie scent drifting like a middle-class lullaby. And yet, the place felt staged. No greeter, no cart pushers, a half-drunk coffee cup sweating on a shelf. An abandoned cart loaded with paper towels and baby wipes. The hum of refrigeration took on a church basement timbre that made his scalp feel aware. "Hello?" he called, half a joke, half a test. His voice skipped down the concrete and came back thinner. He checked the time. 8:34, plenty before closing. The emptiness felt curated, like a magician asking for everyone's attention and getting it too perfectly. He moved deeper. A crushed loaf of bread made a faint map of shoe treads. Grapes fanned out under a produce table as neatly as if they'd been sprinkled from waist height. The automatic doors didn't open when he tried to leave. Theo waved and stepped forward and backward. The glass regarded him. He pushed with both hands, nothing. He checked his phone. 0 bars. "Okay," he said, as if narrating might keep the air on his side. "Okay." A tap sounded from somewhere too far. Fingertips on wood, knuckles on metal. It came irregularly, then in a rhythm, then stopped. He followed because the alternative was to stand still and let the tap come to him. He found the note in paper goods, dead center in the main aisle, a white scrap with writing that looked rushed but deliberate. "Don't look back," he smiled despite himself. Someone's idea of a viral prank. He turned anyway because how could you not? No one stood behind him. But farther down, near a T-junction of aisles, a MetroBox associate vest hung in the air like it had a person inside it. Back turned, head tilted too far, as if peering at a shelf 30 feet up. Theo blinked hard. The lights hiccuped, that subtle shiver when old fluorescents try not to be old. When they steadied, the vest wasn't there. The warehouse doors were slightly ajar. He told himself he'd peek only, then realized how ridiculous it was to keep promises to fear. He nudged inside. The air grew colder, freighted with dust that made the beam of a failing bulb visible. On the concrete, another note, "It's watching you." Theo looked up before he could tell himself not to. Something perched high in the steel labyrinth, man-shaped but wrong, as if someone pulled a person like gum and arranged the stretch. Limbs too long, head angled with an insect's curiosity. Eyes, if they were eyes, gave off no light, but the space around them felt brighter somehow. Then it smiled, and the smile wasn't on the mouth. He flinched backward, tripped, and scraped his palms. When he looked again, the shelf was empty except for what he had not noticed. A third note wedged perfectly into the angle of the cross brace. He climbed 2 rungs of the maintenance ladder because curiosity is heavier than fear until it isn't. The note said, in block letters that resembled his own, "Don't look back." The same words, the same slant on the D, the same impatient tail on the K. He checked his pocket notebook as if that would help. Page clean. Pen cap still on. The letters on the note weren't his, but they were him. The front doors opened without protest the next time he tried. He exited at a speed that told anyone watching he wasn't running. The parking lot stretched flat and kind. When he glanced in the rear view as he pulled away, the entry vestibule lights flickered, once, twice, and steadied. He told the story twice. The first person made a joke about flash mobs. The second person said, "My cousin saw something in Hartwell, at the old cannery, tall, head turned like a bird." He stopped telling it. 6 weeks later, he unfolded a paper grocery bag at home and found a scrap very much like the ones from MetroBox. It hid near the seam, easy to miss. "Don't look back, Theo." The name wasn't there in ink. He heard it anyway. He didn't turn around that night, and sleep came like a mercy. In the morning, his neck hurt from keeping his head so still. Nora thought the scariest part would be the drive. It wasn't. It was learning he'd already practiced following her twice. Lake Merrin felt small after midnight, a map reduced to streetlights and reflected windows. Nora stopped at Evergreen Bulk Club on the way back from her sister's, the phone screen grocery list glowing like a lighthouse in her palm. She kept it quick. She always kept it quick. The man by the soda pallets never looked at the soda. He stood in an attitude of waiting. She clocked him because women clock everything. After checkout, she pushed into the night air, a temperature drop you could bite. The lot was almost empty. She popped the trunk, footsteps timed to hers. People move in rhythm when they're together. They also move in rhythm when they've been watching. She didn't turn. She locked, dumped, closed, slid in, and locked again. Deep breath. Mirror. He stood 4 spaces back, hands in his pockets, profile shadowed by a hood that didn't look like it belonged to his jacket. She reversed, calm as a tutorial. He didn't move until she'd turned toward the lane. Then his gray sedan materialized in the mirror like a bad app with good load times. Left. Right. She took another right turn, passing the shuttered ice cream stand that her niece loved. He followed with a patience that made her afraid of what impatience would look like. She called 911, her voice flat because she knew that screaming wouldn't help. "Gray sedan," she said. "Since Evergreen. He's matching every turn. Stay on the line, lights on. We're dispatching." She pulled into the HarborMart lot because it was bright, not because it was safe. The sedan took a slope-shouldered spot across the street, angled just so. 2 minutes later, sirens knifed the dark. Officers spoke to the driver. The stance was familiar. Neutral, practiced, and unafraid to be boring in case boring worked. History of complaints, Officer Lynn told her afterward. Nothing that stuck. "You can file, and I recommend you do. Will it matter? It makes a line instead of dots," he said. "Lines are easier to see." In the following week, Nora switched her routine the way people change passwords after a breach. She parked in different rows, wore a hat, and took back roads. She told friends. She learnt the soothing language of probably fine. On Thursday, Evergreen's head of security, a woman with a sleuth's calm named Marisol Cantu, called. "You asked for plate footage," she said. "We can't give copies without a warrant, but we can read you what we see." Nora listened to the keyboard click. "The same sedan was here 2 Fridays ago," Marisol said. "Arrived 5 minutes before you. Parked where you parked last night, row F. Left 3 minutes after you." Nora felt something rearrange inside her. The floor plan of the fear. "Before that?" 2 Wednesdays prior," Marisol said. "He shadow parked next to the far corner of your usual lane. He doesn't shop. He watches the flow. He leaves when you leave." The previously dotted line has now become a solid line. Nora filed. A detective called the next day with the voice of a man who had said the same careful sentences many times. "We've warned him. Restraining orders have thresholds. Document everything." She did. She bought a small dash camera and felt like a spy in her life. She changed the route home. She stopped unlocking her phone in the lot. She sometimes allowed the cart boy to walk her to her car, feeling both safer and punished by this necessity. 2 months later, the sedan reappeared and did not follow. It lingered at the far corner of the lot, engine idling. The driver's window edged down 3 centimeters and then back up, as if the night required only a sip of air. Nora took a photo with the sound off. The picture depicted a car that could have been any vehicle, resembling more of a shape than an individual. The next morning, a printed photo slid out of her mailbox when she opened it. Her car at Evergreen, time-stamped 2 weeks prior. There was nothing threatening about the image. The threat existed in the image itself. She brought it to the station. The detective's jaw tightened in the way that often happens when people feel restrained from acting on their instincts. "Keep your camera. Keep your distance. Keep calling." On a Saturday so bright that it could make monsters blink, Nora parked at Evergreen once more because the world is mostly ordinary and we exist within that framework of understanding. The lot held families and retirees and a golden retriever with a grin. She loaded water jugs and cereal. She wiped her palms. She checked the bumper. A new, faint crescent as if something had pressed close and rested there, measuring the space where her life touched someone else's want. When she drove away, she didn't look in the mirror until the highway demanded it. The gray sedan didn't appear, and the absence felt like a promise it would someday return. Fear is patient. So as it turns out, this is documentation. That night, she fell asleep with the dash cam blinking and dreamed of a map made only of lines. No cities, no rivers, no names. And how easy it was, once you knew what you were looking at, to see where they all converged. We all joked that Silvermart never really closed, until the night I found out what kept it open. It was supposed to be my last shift before college. Friday, 11:30 p.m. Quiet enough to hear the freezers breathing. Silvermart had that late-night emptiness where every sound feels like it's waiting for permission to echo. I'd been closer for 6 months. Restock, sweep, lock up, easy money. That night, my manager, Trent, left early with a lazy wave. You know the drill, Sam. Lights off at midnight, alarm before 12:30. By 11:45, the aisles were perfect. Candy-fronted, carts stacked. I pulled out my earbuds to enjoy the silence. That's when I heard it. A slow, dragging shuffle from aisle 9. I froze. The store was empty. I'd watched the last customer leave 10 minutes earlier. Trent? I called. No answer. The noise stopped, then started again. Closer now. Like rubber soles on tile. I grabbed the nearest flashlight and clicked it on. The beam sliced down the aisle. Cereal boxes. End cap posters, nothing else. I laughed nervously. Probably the mop handle sliding. But the mop was still leaning in the bucket where I'd left it. That's when the store music cut out mid-song. 1 second. Cheerful pop. Next, silence. Thick enough to make the fluorescents buzz louder. I felt the air change. Heavier. Colder. The glass doors at the front were fogging over as if the temperature had dropped only inside. I started walking to the manager's office to check the alarm panel. Halfway there, the intercom crackled, soft static at first, then a voice. Not clear, not loud, just one drawn-out word, stay. Every hair on my arms lifted. The speaker popped again. First I scanned the front doors, locked, still fogged. My reflection looked pale and wrong under the overhead lights. I grabbed my phone. No signal. The clock on the register read 11:59 p.m. Fine, I told myself. 1 minute early. Never killed anyone. I'd clock out and go. When I turned toward the employee corridor, the backroom light flickered on by itself. A tall silhouette stood just inside the doorway, motionless, facing me. Trent? No response. The shape tilted its head slightly, like curiosity without warmth. I stepped back, the flashlight trembling in my grip. Sir? The stores closed, still nothing. The figure moved. Slowly, deliberately. 1 step into the light. The face wasn't Trent's, it wasn't anyone's. No features, just the impression of a face stretched smooth like wax under the pale bulb. Its uniform matched ours. Red vest. Name tag blank. I bolted for the front doors, but they wouldn't budge. The keypad blinked error in red. Behind me, the footsteps started again, deliberate, matching mine no matter how fast I moved. I cut toward the checkout lanes. Every digital screen at every register turned on at once. Lines of text crawled across them, the same phrase repeating, "Do not leave the floor." I backed away until I hit the cart corral. Something brushed my shoulder. A whisper, not breath, but static. I spun. No one was there. I aimed the flashlight down aisle 3. All the motion sensor lights clicked on, one by one in a wave moving toward me. At the far end stood the faceless thing. Head tilted again. My throat went dry. What do you want? It raised an arm, long, thin, and pointed toward the ceiling speaker. Then the voice returned through the intercom. Louder now. Shift's not over. Every register drawer slammed open at once, coins scattering across the floor. The sound made my chest vibrate. I ran. I ran through the produce section and past the frozen foods. The exit door near receiving loomed ahead. I shoved it, locked it solid. The fluorescent bulbs began to strobe, long flashes of white and darkness. Each blackout lasted just long, enough for it to be somewhere else when the light came back 5 feet closer. 3-1. The flashlight flickered out. I pressed my back against the metal exit, breath slicing through my teeth. When the light stabilized again, it was gone. Silence. Then a whisper, right behind my ear. Clock out. Sam. My body moved before thought did. I sprinted to the manager's office, slammed the door and keyed the code with shaking hands. This time, the alarm armed correctly. A single green light glowed steadily. The second it beeped, all the store lights shut off, absolute black. I stumbled to the employee exit, shoved it, and it opened easily now. I didn't look back. I just ran until the cold air outside burnt my lungs. When I reached my car, I looked at the digital clock. 2:31 a.m. It was exactly 1 minute past the time that Trent had instructed me to arm the alarm. The next morning, I went back with the district manager to return my badge. He looked confused. Trent said you left early last night. The system shows the alarm armed at 12:30 on the dot. Are you sure you didn't forget to clock out? I opened my mouth to explain, but behind him, inside the store window, I saw movement, a red vest turning down aisle 9. Trent was standing beside me, and when I blinked, the vest inside the store stopped moving. For a split second, the glass caught a reflection that wasn't mine, and on the blank name tag, it was written, in neat black marker, Sam Nightshift.